I'm your host, Stassi Schroeder. Welcome to Tell Me Lies, the official podcast. What's the most unhinged thing of season 3?
Steven, because he's so evil.
I do think he is misunderstood.
You see everyone face consequences.
It's intoxicating. The writers just know how to trick you.
There's always a twist in this show. It's nothing you would expect.
Tell Me Lies, the official podcast, January 6th, and stream the new season of Tell Me Lies, January 13th on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Remember when James Cameron nearly directed a Spider-Man movie?
What about when we almost got Batman Year One with Joaquin Phoenix?
Or David Goyer's Flash movie that would have starred Ryan Reynolds?
Well, if you want to learn about all the unmade superhero movies, then check out Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hosted by Ben Wan and Alex Ramsey, every month we cover nostalgic superhero movies with deep dives into unmade scripts, early drafts, deleted scenes, alternate cuts, concept art, novelizations, and tie-in novels.
We also interview the people involved in making the superhero films of our childhood, with our past guests including superhero actors, directors, screenwriters, and concept artists.
So remember, that's Superhero Stuff You Should Know, or Superhero SYSK on social media. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Remember when James Cameron nearly directed a Spider-Man movie?
What about when we almost got Batman Year One with Joaquin Phoenix?
Or David Goyer's Flash movie that would have starred Ryan Reynolds?
Well, if you want to learn about all the unmade superhero movies, then check out Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hosted by Ben Wan and Alex Ramsey, every month we cover nostalgic superhero movies with deep dives into unmade scripts, early drafts, deleted scenes, alternate cuts, concept art, novelizations, and tie-in novels.
We also interview the people involved in making the superhero films of our childhood, with our past guests including superhero actors, directors, screenwriters, and concept artists.
So remember, that's Superhero Stuff You Should Know, or Superhero SYSK on social media. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of The Christian Cringe, and we are in Five Iron February. Last week, we exposed Katie to the debut album from Five Iron Frenzy, which was Upbeats and Beatdowns, which I think kind of rattled her by the fact that, you know, she was listening to Amy Grant and there was music that was this punk out there.
I had no idea.
There was even a more punk version of Amy Grant songs at that time on this particular album. But we are joined now from Five Iron Frenzy's only drummer really in the entire history of the band, Andy. Andy, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm well.
Obviously, you and I have become friends over the last couple of years by a mutual love of horror films and punk rock. And I'm excited that you're the first Five Iron member that we get to talk to on our show. A little bit about our show. Our show is about kind of just recontextualizing some of this content as good, bad, offensive. As I'm sure you, having lived within that whole lifestyle, know some of it was actually pretty cool, but a lot of it has aged not so great. So with Five Iron, we had a couple things that we wanted to talk to you about. Because like I said, last week was the first time Katie really ever heard your music. And we started in the beginning, and something that really jumped out at us on, you know, that first album alone is, you know, you have songs like Old West, which is, I would say, radical and punk rock even by 2025 standards, let alone 1995 standards of like the debut single from a band on a Christian record label. So I think the biggest thing that we want to go through with you right now is like those early days of the band. And I didn't know your band when this album came out. What was there pushback when you guys came out with songs like Old West and like Anthem and these kind of very left-leaning political songs? Or did you kind of skirt by being kind of one foot in the punk ska scene and the people who could have been pissed weren't paying attention?
I mean, there was a little bit of pushback.
Okay.
Not as we expected, a lot more, especially with Old West, because it has the word rape in it.
Yeah.
I think we would get more pushback now for having that word in a song.
Yeah.
True.
From the general community at large rather than as much the Christian community. Well, maybe the Christian community too. But our record label, when that album came out, they didn't want that as the first song on the album. They wanted to kind of bury it. And we were like, no, this is track one.
Yeah.
100%. Like, we pushed back.
How'd you get away with it?
Yeah, like you're a brand new band on a label. That's kind of
It's
baller
such a
that you
cool-
got that much
it's so
control.
great.
Well, I think Frank Tate believed in what we were doing.
Cool.
Okay.
So he didn't really push back on a lot of what we did. There were a couple of songs that we changed the lyrics to. I'm kind of glad we changed the lyrics to.
Okay.
But by and large, like if we changed lyrics, it was a democratic decision. Like, it was more along the lines of, I don't think this is what I think this is not saying what we want it to say, or we're going to get the message of the song is going to get blotted out by the fact that we say this. So we're sort of undercutting our message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you, I mean, I don't want you to say like specific lyrics that got changed, but is there any song in particular that you remember being one that had to kind of go through a couple lyrical changes at the time?
Ugly Day.
Okay.
No, actually, no. Ugly Day didn't change. We wanted to change it. Reese really wanted to keep it the same because it had the name of a person, an actual person in the song. And we felt like, it's probably not a good idea to put someone's name in a song. To be fair, it's just their first name, and it's a pretty common first name, so it's not like we
really call them out by last name.
You'll get to that one soon, Katie. But the lyric is just Christine, I miss you.
Oh, interesting.
It's not like we said D'Angelo Bailey.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get that reference or not.
Oh boy, do we.
That we kind of pushed back with Reese, but he was steadfast. He wanted to keep it. That's one I kind of wish we would have changed. I don't know.
I feel like anytime that you're writing a song about a specific person, there's going to be that point where it's like 20 years later, are you going to feel weird that you had written that song about that specific person so overtly? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to have that forethought when you're that young is huge.
Another song, which I think a lot of people say has aged poorly. I disagree because I think people are missing the point of the song is Fahrenheit.
Yeah. I'm excited for you to get to this album, Katie. This is their album, All the Hype Money Can Buy.
That's my least favorite album.
Yeah.
I hate it.
What's the
I
deal? Why?
hate it so much. I wish we would have never released it.
I'm not going to say that I hate it, but I will say that in the grand scheme, I probably rank it to the bottom of the 5 Iron releases. But Fahrenheit is a song about, basically the song's about Reese saying homophobic things when he was a kid while loving Queen, and then realizing the hypocrisy and the contradiction of that, and kind of having regrets of that.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And people think it's a dig on Freddie Mercury being gay, and I'm like, how do you get that from that song?
No.
Reese was like, every time I've listened to that song, I'm like, man, people really get this wrong, because it's about Reese coming to grips with his homophobia when he was young. And look, here's the bottom line: a lot of us that grew up Gen X, I grew up on the East Coast. We dropped F-bombs all the time.
Yeah.
We called each other that. And we never thought about the connotations of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
it was a popular word at the time.
Yeah.
And it was just,
yeah. And now that I know the history of where that word came from and why it's used as a derogatory term for gay men, I'm horrified by it.
Yeah.
But all of us in the band grew up in evangelical Christianity, so it was a homophobic environment. Yeah. And there's a lot of brainwashing. So there was, I mean, I was homophobic when I was younger.
Yeah.
I could sit here and try and say that I wasn't, or that I was always, liberal, forward-thinking, progressive, but I wasn't.
I
I
No,
didn't.
think
I
there's
didn't.
that's where
yeah.
I relate really hard because I mean that's why I'm so outwardly spoken and like an advocate for LGBTQ rights because I remember how ingrained in, church society it was to just flippantly
Yeah.
talk like that. And I'm so horrified by that version of me that I'm
Yeah.
like so going the opposite way. And I told Matt, I was like, when I saw these lyrics and when I heard this music, I was like, I would have had a completely different Christianity life if I had started with Five Iron Frenzy at the beginning of my whole journey.
Sure. Yeah.
And I
Like I say, like you don't start off where you want to be. You
hmm
work your way there. And if you don't give credit to the journey,
Yeah.
then what is the point of you getting to where you got to?
100%.
To where you are right now. And
Mm.
I hope to continue to keep trying to do better all the way till I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up.
I get what you're saying too, because like for me, obviously, again, growing up as a kid on the East Coast, absolutely, I threw that word around. But I think that there was that element where it was like, to me, I never hated someone for being gay, but it was always like, well, that's their thing and I don't have to worry about it. And like, I think my growth was realizing like, no, it's kind of part of my job to care about that person and care about their rights as much as I care about
My
my own
own.
rights. So it's like, I think
Sure.
a lot of people, like you said, the Gen X people and even that early millennial age,
Yep.
like you grew up where even if it wasn't straight up homophobia, it was like, well, that doesn't apply to me, so I don't have to care. And like realizing like, no, you do, as a human being, you're supposed to care. Andy, I want to ask about something that I think is kind of interesting, which is the origins of the band. Before you guys went ska, you were like an industrial metal band whose name I've never quite cracked on how I'm supposed to pronounce. What was the band's name before Five Iron?
Exhumator.
Exhumator. Okay. I think I called them Exhumator when I recorded the episode.
We used to call it eggs and taters.
So when you guys, if I'm understanding the Wikipedia, which is the most trusted source of information, was Five Iron, when you guys did Five Iron, the first couple shows, were you just a 5-piece band doing like Operation Ivy style punk ska and deciding that you wanted to move more towards that direction, or did you have the horn section and everything from the first Five Iron show?
No, we had it was Reese, Keith, Scott, Micah, and myself.
Okay.
And we did our first show. We did an Exhumator set, and then we did a Five Iron Frenzy set. So it was like the death of Exhumator, the birth of Five Iron Frenzy.
Okay.
And
but there was no horns for that first performance.
No, we wanted to be. We were like, we didn't really start pushing the ska stuff until well after that first show, I think, because we originally wanted to just be a pop punk band.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
we were really into MXPX and NoFX and
That was my entire world of music. That was like, I was like, oh, I loved that music at that time. So I totally understand. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
yeah, no, it's okay. Like that's kind of what we were getting into. I had my first exposure to ska would have definitely been Operation Ivy in high school, but it wasn't like they were just like some kind of weird punk band to me. I'd never heard the term ska. It wasn't until I got into Skank and Pickle that I was like, oh, this is ska.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, there's a lot of bands that I listened to growing up that were ska that I didn't realize that that's what that was. Like the Police had some ska tunes, that song Man in a Suitcase and Canary in a Coal Mine.
Yeah.
And then, special songs. I've always loved the English beat ever since I was just like, oh, they're just like a new wave type of band.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I got into Skank and Pickle, and then that led to like the next band was Less Than Jake that we got really into.
Yeah.
But the band that really sort of, for me, was a huge influence on me in regards to ska music was ME330.
Yeah, that
I
makes
love
sense.
Dan. This is actually a good now that I think of it, good topic for this podcast. I think because not only were they influential on me in regards to music, but they had a huge influence on me as just how to behave as a band member and how to behave as just a person.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of the Ska Against Racism tour.
Yeah.
That was kind of when I first started like sort of taking a critical look at the things that I believed.
And I wanted to jump on that because I think one of the things that it's commonplace now, but I think what gets buried in the Five Iron Frenzy history is you guys were really adamant from the gate of not exclusively playing church and Christian shows. You wanted to play the shows with Less Than Jake. You wanted to do the Ska Against Racism tour. I think I even heard an interview where I can't remember if it was Reese telling this story or Mike telling this story, but that like Five Iron Frenzy had kind of a helping hand in MXPX breaking from like only playing shows with other Tooth and Nail bands a little bit.
I don't know if we had anything to do with that.
Okay, we'll find out.
I mean, we wrote the song "Handbook for the Sellout," I think, in response to the way their fans were reacting to them.
That makes sense. Okay,
splitting away.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's not like we were like, "Hey, you guys should stop."
Yeah,
you guys should start playing more, secular shows or whatever. Yeah. It wasn't like that at all.
You handed them an Atari CD and their life changed.
I honestly they were one of the first bands that we played with back in like '95, man.
Yeah.
We opened for them. This is when we only had one horn player. Brad was our only. We had trumpet. That's it. Brad was our only horn player, and we opened for them at a club that's not around anymore called the Electric Banana.
No. Great name.
Sorry, no, that's from Spinal Tap.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I was like, wait a minute.
Electric Banana.
You said that,
no,
I literally thought I've heard of that venue.
The actual name of the club was called the Ozatlan, and we opened for MXPX and Blenderhead.
Cool.
Yes.
And that was right after Tom had joined the band.
Okay.
Because
So Andy had left. This is like right before Teenage Politics, then, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you, if we don't mind going back a little bit, can you talk about the journey that you had of like what it was that like changed your behavior or your way of doing things? Like, what
the Ska
was
Against Racism tour. How did that like, kind of reflect itself afterwards?
So particularly Dan from MU330,
mm-hmm.
He's a guy that he has a really good head on his shoulders. Mike Park too. I need to give credit where credit's due. Like it was just, I mean, there was some horseshit that went on Ska Against Racism too. I mean, there was how many bands on that tour?
Let me take a look.
Not everyone's a saint, you know.
Sure.
But Dan and Mike and Bob from the Blue Meanies, like these are all guys that just had a very Darren from Less Than Jake as well. Like these guys all had an impact on me just as a person because I had all of these staunch evangelical Christian beliefs and ideals. The way they carried themselves, they were always very kind and gracious. And I kind of went into the tour because of this, religious upbringing that I had. And this, I don't know, I kind of had like a pompous attitude, like I was better than, a lot of these people because of my
Holier
beliefs.
than thou? Yeah.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, very judgmental.
Yeah.
You know, I pretended like I wasn't judgmental and that I was more forward thinking than other Christians, but I still had some narrow minded, ignorant views.
Sure.
You know, just seeing these guys and just kind of having this realization like these guys are better people than I am.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I'm supposed to be whatever Christ-like or, you know, I believe in this God of mercy and forgiveness and charity and love.
Empathy.
And these guys, you know, are better at it than I am. And they're not even trying. It's just who they are. And, I was like, God, like that kind of shook my foundations a little bit. And so I was like, well, maybe some of the stuff that I believe is not so great. So that's kind of led me to taking that, like I said, that critical look at my my religion and my faith and stuff like that. You know, like I wrote something about it recently about it's just about being an asshole about things.
Your journey of critically looking at your faith in like some of the harsher things is very similar to how I entered into the comedy scene and how I saw other people just treating other people way better than any of my ideals or any of my community within Christian college, within Christianity, that's what like changed over my entire perspective of the world, is actually going into the field that I wanted to be in and then seeing other people set examples way better than any of the ideals I grew up with were panning out to be.
But it wasn't just Christianity for me.
Yeah.
Like when I left Christianity and I kind of went through a phase of being like a hardline atheist, I was an asshole about that too.
Sure.
Right. And then I kind of got into the, you know, mystical Eastern philosophy a little bit. And I was an asshole about that too.
Sure.
And I kind of came to the conclusion that, you know, like look at, if every room you walk into smells like dog shit, when do you check the bottom of your own shoe?
Oh my God, what a quote.
You know what I mean? You like that?
I love that.
I wish I could take credit for it. I don't know where I heard that originally, but it rings true for me. Like,
put it on the back of a 5-iron shirt and sell it on the next store.
Right. Honestly though, like if I'm an asshole in all of these different versions of myself, then the versions of like the problem's me. I'm the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I've said that. I've heard people say a similar sentiment. If every day you meet an asshole,
you're the
then
asshole.
maybe you're actually the asshole. Like if in every single day you come home and there's someone who was a real douche to you, you may have to look inward and say, because most people don't go through a daily meeting of a shitty person in their life.
Yeah.
It's also what you reflect out to people is what you're going to get back in, you know, the woo-woo sense. But yeah.
Well, and I think it's funny, Andy, because I think I obviously never knew you during the hyper religious asshole part, but you and I bonded. Religion never even came up. We just talked about horror.
We talk about horror movies
for like 25 minutes, but
I mean, like it's such a perfect thing because horror movies often have sort of those religious elements tied within them in terms of like morality and then like showing the like awful side. That's why I find horror movies so interesting.
I heard I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were like, I don't understand why religious people hate horror movies so much. Like God wins most of the time in those movies.
Have you ever read Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
The religious people win.
Yeah. She was talking about like nunsploitation and like demonic possession movies. She's like, people hate The Exorcist. Like God wins that movie.
Well, it's also, I feel like a lot of like horror movies also show sort of a darker side of humanity, which people often correlate with religion, and understandably, because that has been so attached to religion for so long, and it's like exposing that side, and it's like, no, it's good for people to see that. It's good for people to see like the denigrated side of religion. And I guess especially with like everybody's journey, it just depends on like how we portray it, how we show it, what framework we have it in.
Yeah.
I think it's really an important distinction too, because, you know, I don't know that I would consider myself an atheist now. I'm sort of an I don't knowist.
An agnostic?
I don't like that term. I don't like agnostic.
Okay.
I just, because I don't know that I just feel like it's sort of a trite term.
There's that stupid saying, but there's truth to it, where it's like, the only thing I know is that I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm open to anything because I don't have any evidence one way or the other, and just kind of going through life with that attitude.
Was it Seneca that said, I can't learn that
like
which I think I already know?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like stoicism, honestly, but which is like,
well, I mean, Seneca was a stoist.
Yeah. You know, I remember when I consider myself, I guess, like on the agnostic train, or just like in the like non-definable sort of like, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm okay with like learning more. I remember when I was on a mission trip back in my college days, and we had a translator that we went to Kazakhstan to teach English, but really to teach Jesus. And I remember we had a translator that we were like, hey, are you Christian? And he was like, I can't say that around here, because if I say I'm a Christian, then I will probably be beaten up. So he's like, I often say that I am a believer. And it kind of encompasses a lot of things. And it was interesting seeing him actually say that to somebody who was, it was a whole moment when we were in a mosque, and they were drilling our translator about like what religion he actually follows. They were basically trying to ask him if he was Muslim or if he was Christian, and just to find out where he was on the spectrum. And he said he was a believer, and they were like, what does that mean? And I got like really up in his face, and that was intense. But I loved how he basically translated that in Kazakh and also in English, where he's just like, look, I'm a believer. And what that means to you is going to be different. And so I believe in certain things, but I don't necessarily have to share with you what it is, or be defined under a label that would then attach me to certain ideals or moral interests.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head with exactly kind of where I'm at, is that like the reason why I don't like the term agnostic or secular humanist or atheist or any of that is like these labels have all this baggage, you know what I mean? And I think it's part of the problem that I have with Western religion in general. It's like, oh, you know, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Like, oh, you can't be, if you believe this and you say you're this, then you're not actually this, because I think that if there is a God, that I doubt that God is, I don't know, that petty.
Yeah.
And probably a lot more complex than we would give an eternal being credit for.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Jonathan London of the Geekscape podcast, and I want to tell you all about the first official Geekscape comic book, Paul London, Hero of the Prophecy. This is equal parts sci-fi fantasy, comedic adventure, and pro wrestling entertainment told in a nostalgic style. If you're a fan of 80s films like Conan the Barbarian, Krull, Willow, the Beastmaster, and comedic mistaken identity movies like The Army of Darkness, Three Amigos, and Galaxy Quest, you're gonna love Paul London, Hero of the Prophecy. That's right, I wrote it about my younger brother Paul London, former WWE Cruiserweight and Tag Team Champion. But in this story, he's now washed up, down on his luck, and then magically transported across the universe to a distant planet of sword and sorcery. Once there, he's mistaken to be the hero of the prophecy, destined to free an entire kingdom from the evil sorcerer Ramzar. This is 26 pages of full-color pro wrestling fantasy comic book adventure. Podcast listeners, this is a comic for you. Go to herooftheprophecy.com to learn more. Paul London, Hero of the Prophecy.
I forget where I heard it, but I remember hearing on a podcast someone basically saying, like, the sooner that you erase the vision of God as some big guy with a beard sitting on a throne in the clouds watching all of us, and kind of accept God as more the unspoken things in nature that connect all humanity to each other, the bigger weight that's taken off of your heart, because you're just like in that moment. Like the example they gave was like, they're like, I feel God the most when I'm surfing, or when I'm like on a dance floor at a wedding surrounded by all of these other people all moving to the same song. Like, it's those moments where you feel something powerful way more than when you're just like sitting in a packed church hearing a sermon or praying, because you're just connected with your fellow human in a very real way, or you're connected with nature in a very meaningful real way, as opposed to this like forced hour once a week that
Right.
you're forcing yourself to feel a connection.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Andy, I know you're not really the songwriter, especially in the early days of the band, but I think that you being there from the very beginning, you might be able to clarify. There was 2 songs that we were having some debate over what they may or may not be about. And I'm curious if you can clarify. So the
I can
song,
try.
so the song "Cool Enough for You." This was the first time I even thought about this interpretation. Is the song "Cool Enough for You" about the changing from metal to punk and ska? Is that like what that song's kind of describing?
Not really.
Okay.
It's more about the song was written more about the Denver ska scene at the time.
Okay.
Right? So there was let me think about the through line for this. So there were like ska traditionalists, purists, or whatever, right? That they didn't like anything past 1987, you know.
Yeah.
So it was all like Jamaican reggae, and then British ska, and you know, it's like, but ska punk and stuff like that was like, you know, they would, and they were shitty about it. They weren't
Yeah.
like, you know, oh, we prefer this era of this genre of music. They were assholes.
Yeah.
And and then the fact that we were a Christian ska punk band, it was like all of the things that they hated all into one
Gotcha.
thing.
Okay.
And so we got a lot of hate and stuff like that. And I think there was somebody that was going around printing flyers about something of like why you should hate our band or something like that. And, and then there were local zines and stuff like that too that would trash us and stuff. And so and then also like so we there was a festival in Denver called Board as Usual, and
Also a great name.
we were it was a snowboard festival.
Oh, that's even better.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the first we did it 2 years in a row. The first year it was like us and the Supertones. And but then also it was like the Bouncing Souls, Catch 22, the Descendants, the Mud Sharks, like, and so it was a pretty stacked bill.
Yeah,
and,
legendary bands on there.
Yeah.
And so we played before the Supertones, I think.
Okay.
And then Supertones came on and they did their spiel where, you know, Jason Carson got up and did all his preaching stuff and all that. And people were throwing batteries and spitting and stuff like that. And which I also think is unbelievably shitty. Like how the most enlightened, quote unquote, enlightened people in the world could be so fucking blind sometimes. Like, you know, and he didn't. It's not like he said, "Oh, you guys are all sinners." Or anything. He was basically just saying, you know, "Hey, Jesus loves you, and we love you, and you know, we believe in this." And I think he read a Bible verse or something like that. And you know, like the same people that are spitting and cursing at him. I mean, I get kind of the aversion to it just because of the stigma that being a Christian had at that time.
Yeah, especially in 1995.
Held.
Yeah.
But like those same people wouldn't hesitate to go to a shelter concert and listen to them sing Krishna songs. You know, so it's like it's a little hypocritical. I mean, look, Christians can be hypocrites too. I'm just saying, look, and it's funny because I would say the last 5 years of my life, I've become for being a non-Christian, I would definitely not consider myself a Christian. But I'm very, I kind of come in defense of Christianity a lot.
Interesting.
In religion in general.
Yeah.
But in more of a broader, generalized sense of religion and Christianity. The next week or something like that, or a few days later, the Descendants are like my favorite band. Yeah. Like Bill Stevenson is my favorite punk rock drummer of all time.
An amazing songwriter too.
And an amazing songwriter. Yeah. So I'm reading this article in the Westward. Westward is like the local hipster paper. They were all over the place back in the day. I'm sure you know what we're talking about, right? Like every city, major city has one. Anyway, and it was a interview with Milo, and Milo had confused us with the Supertones. And thought that we were the ones that were preaching. Uh-oh. And I was mortified, right? Mortified.
Yeah.
And it was pretty brutal, And I was like, no, like my favorite punk rock singer thinks I'm, Kenneth Copeland or something. Yeah. But anyway, that song is basically about, it was kind of like a fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, this is who we are. Get over it. We're not punk. We're not hardcore. We'll never be cool enough for you.
I have to say that's the song where, and I'm sure you know this, like, not to inflate his ego at all, but like you're in a band with an extremely good lyricist. Like there are some lyrics that Reese has written that I'm just like, until I sit down and read it, it doesn't even click in my head how good of a lyric it is. And doing the episode last week for Upbeats and Beatdowns was the first time that I clocked this lyric. Cause like, I don't know, I'm one of those people who sings along with songs, but I'm kind of just like making up my own words at certain points. But the line where it said, "Need I remind you, we knew you before you threw rocks at the stage from your glass house on the floor. Now you think you're punk just because it's in because you found a foul mouth and a couple safety pins." Like, that is an incredible lyric. But like you said, that is also a big fuck you verse if I've ever read one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that throwing rocks thing, I mean, I think, I mean, that was like, punk. When you played punk venues, if they didn't like you, they threw shit at you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's awesome. The other song that we were kind of curious about, and I'm just going to ask you like this. What do you, in your mind, what is Third World Think Tank about? What is that song about? Because I think it's the most confusing song on the record.
It's very confusing. I don't really. So
I think it's great. I don't know particularly what the title is supposed to mean and what the message ultimately is of that. We had some interpretations of it kind of being using the, the allegory of the woman putting a nickel in the donation bucket and Jesus being like, she gave more than all of you rich people. Kind of this idea of where we are right now, where it's like, if you are putting all of your faith in the rich, like you're just one step away from being the next third world country. Basically, like it takes more than just like compassion and money. Like it takes more than money. You need compassion and hope. But I'm curious, like that's, two people in their late 30s just spitballing while listening to a 30-year-old song. So like,
Yeah, wow, 30 years. Yeah, I honestly, I think that's as good an interpretation as any for that song.
Okay.
I think that song. So, as I recall,
Yeah.
I could be wrong about this. Reese would probably correct me, but that song, Reese had the title for that song before he had any lyrics.
Cool.
He just liked the sound of third world think tank. It sounded cool.
Yeah.
And
The
so he kind of
alliteration
wrote,
alone.
Yeah.
And so he kind of wrote the lyrics around it. I think it's about a lot of different things. I don't think you're too far off.
Okay.
I've listened to that song a few times and gone, what the fuck is he talking about? Because I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean, there's other songs, that I could definitely tell you what they're about, but that one is one of those ones. I think it's sort of one of those where it's like, if that's what you get out, if that's what you hear, then that's what it's about.
Okay.
Your interpretation is as good as any.
And I want to end with kind of a double question here. So it's, I want to know, in the grand scheme of the Five Iron Frenzy career, you've been open on what your least favorite album is for Five Iron. Where would you say that Upbeats and Beatdowns kind of falls for you? Is this one that you still look back on fondly? Has it aged not as well as you'd hoped it would?
I like about 50% of that record.
Okay.
There's some songs on there that I'm like, yeesh, that was terrible. Like Faking Life is awful song. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I get confused what songs are on which albums.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, there's so many albums, so like I completely understand that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think even if you're in the band, you can look back at this and at least say, as someone who listens and listened to a lot of Christian music for a time, like, this is an impressive debut album. I think it is. I think you guys come out, and for anybody who's kind of like startled, quote unquote, by the more political nature of your last two albums, it's kind of like, were you paying attention to the first couple albums?
I'm like, first album, first song, man. Come on. Like, where are you getting this? Oh, Five Irons all of a sudden all political. Dude, we've always been political.
But that's conversation was so like everybody's saying everything's woke now, and it's like maybe it's just been that way.
I mean, there were people complaining about Rage Against the Machine being political.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have you listened to any, really?
Have you listened to their name?
Yeah. Like it's very funny to me. And I want to say, and this is absolutely no disrespect to all of the other Christian ska bands that existed. But I did say this on the episode last week. I also think, and I know, like, I've had conversations with you about this. I've had conversations with Leonore about this. I also think that you guys, cared very deeply about the history of the movement of ska. Like, that you understood that it was a political genre of music that had like decades of history before a bunch of people in California started wearing Hawaiian shirts and playing it. And that
which is so weird to me that is synonymous with ska, because like that Hawaiian shirts, I'm like, how did that become a ska thing?
It's so far from what it's supposed to be. And I also think that of all of those bands, I have always said that Five Iron Frenzy from album one was a punk band first, a Christian punk band second. Like, I think that you guys really, and again, we were talking about that first track, Old West, you stuck to what you cared about passionately and like causes, I think, in a way deeper way than a lot of the other bands at that time. And I think that that's why, even when you have a lot of people who are, exegelical or whatever you want to call it, you're like one of those bands that they still hold very passionately, because, like we said, joking around about people thinking how they get political, like, you guys have always very much worn your heart on your sleeve in a major way about what you cared about.
the
like you said,
punkest way.
Yeah, like going and doing ska against racism, deciding to play on the Warped Tour and stuff like that, like making those decisions. I want to applaud you guys for doing that, because now it seems like an easy decision, but to do it back then, I can imagine it was a bit of a controversial thing a lot of the time.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and likewise, doing the Christian shows was also sort of like a punk move, because a song like Old West talking about manifest destiny, in front of a bunch of youth group kids.
Yeah.
And we're all wearing no effects and t-shirts and, unless, like we're all, so that was sort of radical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a little bit like, look, we're not going to change our set list to play as the Deer ever,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that did happen a lot, organically. I think people heard a live album and they were like, oh, we're supposed to do this at the end of 5 Iron concerts now. And it got a little played out, which is why we don't do it anymore. But that was sort of like, yeah, we're going to sing this song about how, remember when we came to this country and used Jesus as an excuse to, kill a bunch of indigenous people and, let's talk about that. I know you don't like to hear about it, but we're going to talk about it.
In the first song, like how great.
I mean, it's a perfect opener for a million different reasons, but that makes it even better that it's about that. The last thing I want to ask you, because like I said, Katie has really just started diving into your music last week. So next week, she's going to listen to our newest album ever for the first time. Is there any fun facts or things that she should look out for as she dives into that album? Because I know for a fact that the person on this call gets gets to sing a little bit on that album.
Do I?
Yeah, that's Fistful of Sand, right? Don't you have a nice little...
Oh, yeah. Plastic bags of Novocaine. Some PCP to kill the pain. Yeah.
What? Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I did do the vocals on that song in the bridge. Micah does it now. They don't let me have a mic. They don't let me have a microphone on stage. It's probably
give it to your daughter.
It's probably a wise move. I don't know. I mean, we recorded that album. We had a little bit more time to. So Upbeats, we did. I recorded all the drums in like 2 days or something like that for that album.
Wow. Okay.
And I think I had like a week with Upbeats because we had a little bit of a larger budget for that album. Handbook for the Sellouts on there, song that is 100% about people treating MXPX like shit because they're doing well, because they started to break out after their first album and got really big, and people were they were kind of shitty to them, and we were like, you guys are being assholes. So we wrote a song about it.
Nice.
What do you do when you're in a punk band? You write a song about it.
Yes.
I mean, it definitely has Every New Day at the end, which is a kind of the signature song for the band at this point. But
I mean, we play that. That's our closer every night, unless we're the opening band. Or if we're support, we don't play it.
Or if I may,
that's weird.
Unless you're playing in a basement in Philadelphia and the power keeps cutting out and we just need to end the show as quickly as possible.
Oh, no.
Is that the one where I think that's the one where Reese and I got a big fight after that show?
I just remember that literally half the stage power kicked out because it was like 120 degrees in a basement.
Yeah. It was
the first Unitarian church in Philadelphia. Yeah. It was bad. It was a tiny, tiny building with too many people.
But I was, I don't know what I was supposed to do in that situation.
Yeah. No,
I don't have control over the band any more than
there was no good answer to that situation. Like that was the problem, because it was the winter. It was like a cold day outside, but then you'd go into this basement. It was legitimately in the 100-degree levels, and it was just there was
And
no
not ventilated.
windows, no ventilation, nothing. So it was
Yeah.
just it was. I mean, I've been to a lot of like basement punk shows, but that was a particularly. But I do remember that I didn't get to hear every new day of that show.
I can think of a show that was hotter than that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was called The Refuge.
Okay.
We all remember it. And this will be a nice little story for you to end on with your podcast. So it was it was a place called The Refuge in Tampa, Florida, I think.
Okay, already rough.
Anyway, it was like a homeless kitchen, right?
Okay.
And they did punk shows.
Cool.
And this place probably held 75 people, maybe 85 was probably the fire code.
Mm-hmm.
And we easily had 200 people in there.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God. It was so legal. So legal to have that many people in there. And the stage was really small. And, and it was in Tampa, and it had to have been like, it felt like, I mean, I'm from Colorado, so it's a dry climate. But it felt like it had to have been like 95 degrees at night, like in the dead of night. It was still like so hot.
Yeah.
And it was us and a band called the Fairlanes. And like, that show was way worse. I was getting tunnel vision. Like,
oh no. Yeah.
Yeah. And it, we're just like, oh, just keep playing.
Right. Electrolytes later.
So here's the thing here's the worst part of that. So we had to drive to Cornerstone. I think it was Cornerstone right after that. Right. So from Tampa, Florida
to
Illinois, right? There's no time to even dry off after the set. We just got in the van, soaking wet with sweat, and drove for what was like 12 hours
oh my God.
straight. And it was on that trip. So we used to travel in a 15-passenger van, right? So in order to sleep, there was 8 people in the band, plus I think our friend Mark Mark Denny was doing merch at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for us to all fit, there's 2 people in the front, right? And the navigator and the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sleep floor, bench, floor, bench, floor, bench, floor, bench, all the way to the back of the van. I'm sleeping on the floor, and Dennis is, and I'm in the, I'm between 2 benches. So I'm not between the captain's chairs and a bench. I'm between 2 benches.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis is directly above me. He's facing the opposite direction, and he's curled. We're both tall, right?
Yeah,
so he's curled up. So his knees are above my head.
Mm.
And it had to have been, I mean, no air conditioning in the van.
Yeah.
The best air conditioning we have is just opening up all the windows. I'm sleeping, and I wake up, and I'm just like, God, it's so hot, and I'm drenched in sweat still, and like I was like, oh my God, there's so much condensation in the van that it's
dripping on
like
the floor.
dripping on me. No. It wasn't condensation from the van. Dennis's knees were right above my head.
No.
And the crease was sweating and dripping on my face.
Oh God. And Katie, I want you to remember this story for next week when we hear the song Superpowers.
Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a good segue. That's punk rock.
I feel that.
Andy, thank you so much for joining us for this hour. It was an absolute blast. I also want to just throw it out there. If there's at any point where you're like, you know what, I want to really talk about my love of insert 80s Christian heavy metal band that you grew up loving, we would love to have you on for an episode where you don't have to talk about Five Iron Frenzy.
Sure, I'll talk about that. Can I plug my other band?
Yes, plug all of the things, because you have a book of poetry as well that people can get.
Yeah, I have a book of poetry and a children's book that I wrote. Book of poetry is called October. Okay. The children's book is called Little. It's available nowhere. I usually have them when we play shows, but it's not available on like any websites or anything like that. But my new band, This Repeats, we just released our album. You can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music. And Five Iron has 2 shows coming up, one in Portland on the 31st of January, and then one, I don't know if this podcast will be out by then. And then one on the 1st, and This Repeats is the opener. So
Nice.
I'm pulling double duty this weekend.
Oh,
Love
man.
it.
Hope you don't have to get into it.
But come and check it out. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much, Andy.
Yeah.
And we will be back. 5 Iron February is just going to continue into next week when Katie listens to our newest album ever.
Remember when James Cameron nearly directed a Spider-Man movie?
What about when we almost got Batman Year One with Joaquin Phoenix?
Or David Goyer's Flash movie that would have starred Ryan Reynolds?
Well, if you want to learn about all the unmade superhero movies, then check out Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hosted by Ben Wan and Alex Ramsey, every month we cover nostalgic superhero movies with deep dives into unmade scripts, early drafts, deleted scenes, alternate cuts, concept art, novelizations, and tie-in novels.
We also interview the people involved in making the superhero films of our childhood, with our past guests including superhero actors, directors, screenwriters, and concept artists.
So remember, that's Superhero Stuff You Should Know, or Superhero SYSK on social media. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.